We were very curious to try and understand what's actually happening in the brain. Like when someone sends you a Slack notification, like how does that affect your focus both immediately, but then also are you able to get back into that task, or does it kind of take a bit of time? You know, how does it affect your day overall? We tested 4 different scenarios. One was high interruption, where we looked at a notification sound, a notification physically appearing on the screen, as well as a red dot appearing on the icon in the dock bar. Then we tested a mild interruption scenario, which is where there was no sound, no notification on screen, but it did display a little kind of red dot on the dock icon. Then we had a low interruption one, which is where there was no kind of visible notifications on the screen, but the icon was permanently in view on the dock. And then the final scenario was kind of like the Serene one, where there was nothing, the dock was hidden, you had no idea whether or not a notification had come in. So it was kind of the distraction-free version of the test. We ran an extremely cruel experiment where we had Ben hooked up to a EEG device which looks at changes in different brain waves, which we can then extrapolate to look at like how does that affect focus, excitement, stress. And so what we basically did was, while you were working away on a design task next door, after a random interval of, I think it was about 20 minutes or so, I started to send Ben messages via Slack, and we were able to then see, okay, like does the intensity of the notification or the distraction affect your ability to focus and stay engaged.
It was quite interesting, actually. The outcomes were, just the red dot was just as intriguing and stressful as it was the notification at times. It was really interesting to just perform those tests. When the notification comes in, and it kind of gives you some idea of what that notification is about, so it gives you some sort of text. Sometimes you can distract that, you can put that to one side and carry on with the job. When you don't know what it's about and you maybe know who it's from, that's when the intrigue grows, and I guess the excitement possibly grows, and there's more of a desire to jump onto, in this case, Slack and check it out and see what the message is about. So the full-on notification was probably the easiest one to work with. How actually distracting it is, especially when you've got a task in hand. You've got those few hours a day to complete whatever you have before you. How disturbing is that for your day, and how long will it take you to get back into that working mode?
I guess there's so many apps. I mean, Slack is just one of many apps that it's sort of the blessing and the curse. Like, they're very, very powerful communication tools. You know, as good as your intentions are, if you set out to complete certain tasks, it's very, very easy to then get, interrupted, distracted, and working on something completely different that may or may not be important. The thing with Slack and other instant messaging tools is that urgency takes priority over importance. It's kind of like, if something lights up in Slack, you're like, oh, I have to look at this. Whereas really what you should be focusing on is what's actually important at the time.
The notification that comes in without any context or any, it's just a notification, not telling you a message, not telling you anything. I think that was really distracting. I was more intrigued to go figure it out, find out what was going on and what the message was. That was really surprising for me.
I expected to kind of see that, the more where we tested like the high interruption scenario, where it was kind of, sound, notifications, and the red dot. I expected that to be the most distracting, and then gradually become less distracting with the other scenarios. But I thought the result would be more subtle. I thought we would kind of see, these little kind of tweaks in the EEG, or kind of, looking at 1%, 2%, 3% changes in relative focus. But I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was like 16 or 18% or something change in relative focus. So it's very, very significant. And the other thing that was very, very surprising is seeing that it's not just the moment that you receive the notification. You can kind of see this like delay of you receive the notification, your focus drops, but then it continues to drop afterwards, and only then does it sort of start to kind of come back. There's this kind of research that found that you know, every time you get distracted, it takes 23 minutes to get back. And I think we kind of saw that in the data to some extent, where like every distraction had this sort of time that it took to get back to where you previously were, which I wasn't expecting to see quite so vividly in the data.
It's pretty distracting indeed. It interferes, especially you've got the noise, you've got the visual impact, you're trying to focus on the screen, the visual impact, the strong red colour, you know, these things are all jumping in there. And especially in the real world context, you know, you don't know what those messages might be, and they could be, you know, things you need to jump on straight away, they could be all kinds of things. So they were very distracting in that test, and they generally are very distracting.
It's being aware of what is distracting you and what's derailing your day. That may be your instant messaging tools, it may be your phone, it could be one of many, many different things. I think once you're aware of like what is the problem, what is actually distracting me, then you can take appropriate action to either reconfigure how those tools are set up. Like Slack is really, really good in that you can go into the settings, you can turn off notification sounds, you can kind of set it up how it suits you best. There are loads of tools out there that can be used to kind of block websites, block apps. Serene is one of many. Really, it starts with an awareness of like what is causing me to be less productive, and then once you know that, you can then find the right tool for the job.